Ladies and gentlemen, um, I will make it happen is a commitment, a promise to ourselves that we will be there every step of the way, no matter how many challenges come our way. It's about waking up every day, knowing that some days will feel like progress and others might feel like setbacks, but through it all, we keep going. Making it happen isn't just about the end goal, it's about choosing to engage fully with the journey, to lean into the experiences, both easy and hard, that shape us along the way. Courage is at the heart of this promise. We don't need to be fearless to make things happen. Instead, we need to be brave. We need to recognize the fears and doubts that might show up, acknowledge them, and still take the next step. Choosing to be courageous means honoring that deep desire within us, even when it feels uncertain, even when the road isn't clear. We don't have to know exactly how it will all unfold. We just have to trust ourselves enough to keep moving forward. In making it happen, we learn that perfection is not a requirement. In fact, embracing our imperfections allows us to show up as our true selves, to be fully present in every moment. There will be days we stumble, days we question ourselves, and days we might wish for easier paths. But those are the days that teach us resilience. They're the moments when we remember that our worth isn't tied to our success or failure. It's rooted in our willingness to show up, to be vulnerable, and to keep trying. Owning the journey also means taking responsibility for the choices we make. We can't always control what happens, but we can control how we respond to it. We can choose compassion over criticism, growth over giving up, and courage over comfort. Each decision we make toward our goals, each step forward, is a testament to our resilience. We are building a foundation not just for what we want to achieve, but for who we want to become. As we commit to making it happen, it's essential to give ourselves grace. We are not striving for a flawless path. We are building a path that feels true to us. Mistakes and challenges are not setbacks. They're part of the process that shapes us into more resilient, compassionate, and courageous people. With every small action, every choice to continue, we create a life that aligns with our values and dreams. I will make it happen is about more than achieving a specific goal. It's about cultivating a deep trust in ourselves, knowing that we have what it takes to face whatever comes our way. It's about knowing that the journey in all its imperfections is where the true transformation happens. And as we lean into that journey, we find that making it happen is less about a final destination and more about the person we become along the way. When we say, I will make it happen, we're planting a stake in the ground, a point where we commit to pursuing something that may challenge, push, and ultimately transform us. But where does this journey begin? It starts in a space of vulnerability, a space that many of us would rather avoid because it doesn't feel safe, comfortable, or predictable. Choosing to make something happen means we are stepping into the unknown, uncharted territory where we don't have guarantees, and we don't know how things will unfold. We're exposed in ways that make us feel deeply uncertain. And that exposure, that discomfort, is exactly what vulnerability is about. Vulnerability isn't weakness, as it's often portrayed. Vulnerability is the courage to be seen, to try, to show up fully despite the risks and uncertainties. It's being willing to face the fear that things might not go as planned, or that others might judge, dismiss, or even reject our efforts. The irony of vulnerability is that while it feels raw and risky to us, it's also what connects us to others in the most profound ways. When we choose vulnerability, we open the door to creativity, innovation, and personal growth because we are no longer shackled by the need to be perfect, by the need to control every outcome. When we say, I will make it happen, and acknowledge the vulnerability that comes with it, we're also saying that we're willing to engage fully with our humanity. We're not waiting until the perfect moment or until we feel 100% ready, because that moment may never come. Instead, we're choosing to move forward, despite the uncertainties, despite our inner critic telling us to play it safe. This choice is profound because it requires us to believe in something we can't yet see and trust in an outcome we can't yet hold in our hands. Choosing vulnerability also means accepting that failure is a possibility. To make something happen is to understand that along the way, we might face setbacks, obstacles, or even moments of complete despair. But instead of seeing those as reasons to stop, vulnerability invites us to see them as part of the process. When we allow ourselves to be open to the possibility of failure, we free ourselves from the crippling need to avoid it at all costs. Failure then becomes something we can learn from, something that can shape us rather than define us. This perspective shift is critical, especially when pursuing big dreams or important goals. In a world that values success and certainty, vulnerability stands in stark contrast. It doesn't promise immediate rewards or quick wins. It doesn't offer shortcuts or guarantees. What it does offer, however, is authenticity. When we embrace vulnerability as part of the process of making something happen, we stop pretending that we have everything figured out. We stop needing to present ourselves as invulnerable, perfect beings. Instead, we allow ourselves to be human, to be real, and to grow in ways that only vulnerability can facilitate. This journey is also about building resilience. Vulnerability and resilience are two sides of the same coin. When we open ourselves to vulnerability, we are building the muscles of resilience because we're constantly engaging with our fears, uncertainties, and insecurities. Each time we face a setback and choose to get back up, we are reinforcing our commitment to our goal, and we are teaching ourselves that we can endure discomfort, that we can survive failure, and that we can move forward even when things get hard. This resilience is not just about bouncing back from failure, it's about growing through it and learning from each experience. Embracing vulnerability also changes how we see ourselves. Often, when we avoid vulnerability, it's because we're afraid of what it might reveal about us. We're afraid it might expose our flaws or weaknesses. But in reality, choosing vulnerability helps us accept ourselves more fully. When we say, "I will make it happen," and step into vulnerability, we're telling ourselves that we are worthy of pursuing our dreams, and that our dreams are worth the risk. This message of self-worth is powerful because it affirms that we don't need to be perfect to start, we just need to be willing. This willingness is an invitation to trust ourselves, even in moments of doubt. When we commit to making it happen, we are exercising trust in our abilities, our resilience, and our capacity to grow. Trusting ourselves is an act of courage because it means we're willing to put faith in something uncertain, something that may or may not turn out the way we hope. It's a reminder that while we might not be able to control every outcome, we do have control over our commitment, our willingness to keep going, and our belief in our own potential. Perhaps the most beautiful part of embracing vulnerability in this journey is the connection it creates with others. When we show up vulnerably, we invite others to do the same. By daring to go after something that matters to us, despite the risks, we inspire others to pursue their own dreams. This creates a ripple effect of courage and authenticity that encourages others to step into their own vulnerabilities. Our choice to say, "I will make it happen," becomes a beacon, a way of showing others that it's okay to try, to risk, and even to fail. We're all in this together, and when we allow ourselves to be seen, others feel less alone in their own journeys. So, to make something happen, we have to be willing to start in a place of vulnerability, to acknowledge that this path won't always be comfortable or predictable. It's a commitment to the journey with all of its unknowns and imperfections. And while it may not always feel safe or easy, vulnerability is what gives life to our dreams. It's what allows us to create, to connect, and to grow in ways we never imagined possible. In choosing to be vulnerable, we are also choosing to be brave, to be resilient, and to embrace every part of the process that making it happen will require. "I will make it happen" is therefore not just a statement of intent, it's a courageous act of self-trust and a willingness to be fully, beautifully human in the pursuit of what truly matters. Courage is often misunderstood. When we picture courage, we tend to imagine grand gestures, bold acts, or moments that make others stand up and take notice. But true courage is often much quieter, more internal, and deeply personal. It isn't about the absence of fear, it's about moving forward despite it. Courage means acknowledging that fear is present, recognizing that uncertainty exists, and choosing to show up anyway. The moments that require the most courage are often the ones when no one else is watching. They're the moments when we decide to keep going, to lean into discomfort, to take a risk, because something within us says, "This is worth it." To make something happen requires courage, not because it's easy, but because there will be countless moments when it's challenging. There will be days when doubt whispers in our ear, days when we question our abilities or feel tempted to turn back to what's safe and familiar. Courage is the commitment to keep going, to honor the path we've chosen, and to continue showing up even when the road isn't clear. We might not always feel brave, and that's okay. Courage isn't about being fearless, it's about being willing to face fear and act despite it. Fear has a way of making itself seem powerful, of convincing us that the unknown is dangerous or that failure is unbearable. But courage helps us see that fear is only as powerful as the weight we give it. When we give fear control over our choices, we're allowing it to define what we believe is possible. However, when we choose courage, we are saying, I see you, fear, but I will not let you decide for me. We're acknowledging the fear without letting it drive us. In doing so, we open ourselves up to possibilities we might otherwise never experience. There's a vulnerability in courage and openness to whatever may come, even when it feels uncertain. It's vulnerable because we're admitting that we don't have all the answers, that we can't guarantee a specific outcome, and that things might not go as planned. This willingness to be vulnerable, to step into the unknown, requires a profound inner strength. Courage allows us to feel the fear and still keep going because deep down, we believe that the journey, the growth, and the lessons we'll learn along the way are worth the risk. In this way, courage is a choice, one we have to make over and over again. It's not a single decision, but a series of small decisions, each one guiding us further along our path. Some days, the choice to be courageous feels easier. On other days, it might feel nearly impossible. Yet every time we choose courage over comfort, we are building resilience. We're teaching ourselves that we can face uncertainty, that we can handle the discomfort, and that we are capable of moving forward, no matter how challenging the path becomes. Courage also invites us to be honest with ourselves. It asks us to confront the stories we tell ourselves, the stories that say we're not good enough, not ready enough, or that we don't deserve success. These stories are often born from fear and insecurity, and they can feel incredibly convincing. But courage allows us to question them. It allows us to ask ourselves, is this story true? Or is it simply a way for fear to keep me from stepping forward? By questioning these narratives, we start to see that many of them are just limiting beliefs, not facts. As we build courage, we begin to develop a deeper sense of trust in ourselves. This trust is essential, especially when things don't go as planned. There will be setbacks, disappointments, and even failures along the way. But when we trust ourselves, we know that these moments don't define us. We understand that we are capable of handling whatever comes our way, and that we have the resilience to bounce back. Courage allows us to see setbacks as opportunities to learn, to grow, and to become even more aligned with our purpose. Trusting ourselves also means accepting that we might make mistakes. Courage doesn't mean we won't fail, it means we're willing to risk failure in the pursuit of something meaningful. Mistakes are part of the process, and they don't make us any less worthy or capable. When we embrace this truth, we free ourselves from the paralyzing grip of perfectionism. We stop demanding that everything be flawless, and instead we allow ourselves to try, to experiment, and to learn as we go. This freedom to be imperfect is a gift that courage gives us, a gift that makes the journey more joyful, more authentic, and ultimately more fulfilling. As we move forward with courage, we find that it also helps us connect with others in a more genuine way. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we invite others to do the same. Courage has a ripple effect. It inspires those around us to take risks, to be brave, and to step into their own journeys. By choosing courage, we become a source of encouragement and support for others, reminding them that they, too, are capable of moving forward despite their fears. Courage isn't about achieving a specific outcome. It's about the journey we take, the growth we experience, and the way we transform along the way. It's about the person we become as we face our fears and choose to move forward anyway. Every act of courage, no matter how small, strengthens us. It builds within us a sense of resilience, a belief in our own worthiness, and a trust that we can handle whatever life brings. When we choose to make it happen, we are choosing courage over comfort. We're choosing to honor the path we've set out on, to show up fully, and to face the unknown with an open heart. It's not about the absence of fear, but the presence of commitment to ourselves, to our dreams, and to the things that matter most. Courage is the light that guides us, the strength that sustains us, and the gift that allows us to live authentically, embracing all the possibilities that lie ahead. Resilience is often portrayed as bouncing back, as if we're some sort of rubber band always expected to snap back to our original shape after facing a setback. But true resilience, the kind that sustains us in the long term, is so much deeper, so much more complex. It's not about going back to who we were before. It's about growing, adapting, and evolving into a stronger, wiser version of ourselves. When we say, I will make it happen, Resilience is the fuel that keeps us moving forward, even when the path is rough, even when we feel like we've been knocked down more times than we can count. Resilience doesn't mean we don't feel the pain, the disappointment, or the frustration of setbacks. In fact, it requires that we acknowledge those feelings, that we sit with them and allow ourselves to process them fully. Ignoring pain or pretending it doesn't exist isn't resilience, it's denial. Real resilience is about facing those feelings head on and then making a conscious choice to keep going. It's saying, this hurts and I'm disappointed, but this isn't the end of my story. It's choosing to continue, even when it feels like every part of you wants to give up. One of the most powerful aspects of resilience is that it teaches us how to redefine failure. Society often tells us that failure is something to avoid at all costs, that it's a sign of weakness or inadequacy. But resilience shifts our perspective. It allows us to see failure not as an endpoint, but as a stepping stone, a valuable teacher. Every time we experience a setback, we're given the opportunity to learn, to adapt, and to come back stronger. Failure becomes less about what went wrong and more about what we can take from the experience. This shift in mindset is crucial because it frees us from the fear of failure that can paralyze us and keeps us from taking meaningful risks. Resilience is also about patience. Making something happen, especially something significant, rarely happens overnight. It's a process often filled with small victories and setbacks along the way. Resilience requires us to stay committed, to keep showing up even when progress is slow, even when we can't yet see the finish line. This kind of patience isn't easy. We live in a world that values quick wins and immediate gratification, but resilience asks us to let go of that urgency. It asks us to trust the process, to believe that the small steps we take every day will eventually add up to something meaningful. In many ways, resilience is an act of self-compassion. It's choosing to be gentle with ourselves when things don't go as planned. It's resisting the urge to be our own harshest critic, and instead learning to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer a friend. Self-compassion isn't about making excuses, it's about recognizing that we're human, that we're allowed to stumble, and that setbacks don't define our worth. When we're kind to ourselves, we create a safe space within that allows us to try again. This inner kindness becomes a wellspring of strength, allowing us to pick ourselves up and keep going. Resilience is also about embracing uncertainty. When we commit to making something happen, there are no guarantees. We might not know exactly how things will turn out, and that can be incredibly unsettling. But resilience invites us to sit with that uncertainty, to make peace with it. Instead of needing to control every outcome, resilience teaches us to trust that we'll be okay no matter what happens. This trust doesn't eliminate uncertainty, but it does make it easier to navigate. When we trust ourselves and our ability to handle whatever comes our way, we're no longer held back by fear of the unknown. Resilience requires us to be adaptable, to be willing to change course when necessary. Sometimes, in the pursuit of making something happen, we realize that the path we originally set out on isn't quite right, or that external circumstances require us to pivot. Resilience allows us to see these moments not as failures, but as opportunities to adjust, to recalibrate, and to find new ways forward. Adaptability is one of the most powerful components of resilience because it keeps us moving, even when things don't go as planned. It allows us to remain flexible, open to new ideas and new paths that might bring us closer to our goal. Another essential part of resilience is connection. When we're going through tough times, it's easy to feel isolated, to believe that we're the only ones struggling. But resilience reminds us that we're not alone, that there are others who understand, who have been through similar challenges. Leaning on our support system, reaching out to friends, family, or mentors isn't a sign of weakness, it's a source of strength. Resilience is often born in community, in the moments when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable with others and to receive their support. Connection doesn't make our challenges disappear, but it does make them easier to bear. It reminds us that we're part of something bigger, that we don't have to carry the weight alone. In building resilience, we also cultivate gratitude. It might sound counterintuitive, but even in the midst of hardship, finding small things to be grateful for can shift our perspective in powerful ways. Gratitude doesn't deny the pain or difficulty of our journey, it simply helps us see that there's more to our experience than just the struggle. By focusing on what we do have, on the small moments of joy or the lessons we're learning, we build a foundation of positivity that strengthens us. Gratitude becomes a reminder of our capacity to find light even in the darkest times. Resilience is about believing in our own worth and potential. It's about trusting that no matter how many setbacks we face, we have something valuable to offer, that our journey is meaningful, and that we're capable of making a difference. Resilience isn't about perfection or never struggling. It's about showing up as our authentic selves, flaws and all, and choosing to keep going. It's about saying, I am enough even when the world feels overwhelming. And in that choice, we find a source of power that can carry us through anything. When we commit to making something happen, resilience is the strength that keeps us moving, the belief that sustains us, and the courage that allows us to grow. It's not just about surviving challenges, it's about transforming through them, becoming more of who we are meant to be. Resilience is a journey, one that deepens our understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. And every time we choose resilience, we're choosing to honor our commitment to ourselves and to the dreams that matter most. Embracing vulnerability is a radical act. We often think of vulnerability as weakness, as something to avoid or hide, but in reality, vulnerability is one of the truest forms of strength. To be vulnerable is to let go of our defenses and show up as we really are, without the masks, without the walls. It's the willingness to say, this is me, flaws and all, and to open ourselves to whatever may come as a result. Vulnerability requires courage because it exposes us, and in doing so, it brings the risk of hurt or rejection. But vulnerability is also where the magic happens. It's where we find authentic connection, where we feel truly seen and understood, and where we can experience growth. When we're striving to make something meaningful happen, vulnerability plays a key role. Making things happen often involves stepping into new spaces, trying new things, and daring to create something that didn't exist before. That process inherently brings risks, including the risk of failing publicly, of being judged, or of facing criticism. Vulnerability allows us to face those risks by grounding us in our true selves rather than in a need for approval or validation. When we embrace vulnerability, we're not basing our worth on how others perceive us, we're basing it on our own inner values and goals. This gives us a foundation that is unshakable, even when things don't go as planned. One of the most powerful aspects of vulnerability is that it brings connection. When we are willing to be open, to share our fears, our hopes, and even our mistakes, we invite others to do the same. It's a reminder to ourselves and to others that we're all human, that we all have struggles, and that we all face moments of uncertainty. This connection is invaluable, especially when we're working toward a goal that matters to us. Knowing that we're not alone, that there are others who understand and support us, can be a tremendous source of strength. Vulnerability helps us build that support system because it allows us to connect on a real, human level rather than from a place of perfectionism or pretense. Vulnerability is also essential for growth. When we're vulnerable, we allow ourselves to be open to feedback, to learn from our mistakes, and to see things from a new perspective. If we protect ourselves too much, if we never take risks or admit that we don't know everything, we miss out on valuable opportunities for learning. Vulnerability keeps us open and curious, willing to learn and to grow in ways we may never have anticipated. It helps us embrace our journey as a process rather than a destination, where every step, every challenge, and every stumble is part of our growth. Embracing vulnerability is about being true to ourselves. It's a choice to live authentically, to show up fully, and to honor our journey without needing it to be perfect. Our vulnerability is where we find our true strength, where we connect deeply with others, and where we grow into who we're meant to be. It's a gift we give to ourselves, one that makes everything else possible. Persistence is more than just continuing to work hard. It's a quiet, steady commitment to showing up again and again, even when the odds feel stacked against us, even when we feel discouraged, and even when progress seems invisible. When we say, I will make it happen, persistence is that steady force that keeps us going, even on the days when we're tired, when we doubt ourselves, or when the world feels heavy. Persistence isn't flashy. It isn't about grand gestures or momentary victories, it's about the grit to keep moving forward, one small step at a time. We think of success as something that happens in a breakthrough moment, a sudden shift, a big win, or a dramatic change. But the truth is that most success, most meaningful achievement, is born out of persistence. It's created in the daily, sometimes tedious, sometimes discouraging work that doesn't get a spotlight or applause. Persistence means we keep working, even when we're not getting external validation, even when we feel like we're not moving forward. It's in those quiet moments when we choose to continue that real progress is made. Persistence is a journey, not a destination, and it requires that we stay committed, stay grounded, and trust the process even when we can't see the results yet. In the pursuit of making something happen, persistence also involves a willingness to adapt. Sometimes, persistence is less about sticking rigidly to one path and more about being open to new possibilities, new solutions, and new ways of approaching the goal. When we're persistent, we're willing to reassess, to pivot, and to explore different avenues if needed. Persistence doesn't mean we're blindly pushing forward, it means we're committed to our vision, even if it requires us to change our approach along the way. Flexibility within persistence allows us to stay true to our goal while also being responsive to the realities and challenges we encounter. Perhaps most importantly, persistence is about honoring our commitment to ourselves. When we say, "I will make it happen," persistence is the daily choice to stay aligned with that commitment. It's a reminder that our dreams, our goals, and our aspirations are worth the effort. Each time we persist, we're affirming that our journey matters, that our vision has value, and that we're willing to work for what we believe in. Persistence is about showing up for ourselves time and time again because we know that the journey we're on is meaningful. And in making that commitment to ourselves, we're building a life that reflects our deepest values and our highest aspirations. Persistence may not always be easy, but it is always worthwhile. It's a gift we give to ourselves, one that brings us closer to our true potential. Every small step, every moment of doubt that we overcome, and every setback that we move through brings us closer to the person we're meant to be. Persistence isn't just a path to achievement, it's a way of living that honors our resilience, our courage, and our unwavering belief in what's possible. And with each step we take, we're reminded that we are capable of making things happen. One day, one choice, one moment of persistence at a time. Facing failure is one of the most difficult and defining experiences we can encounter on the path to achieving our dreams. It's not just about dealing with the momentary disappointment of something going wrong. It's about the feelings of self-doubt, the fear of judgment, and the sense of vulnerability that failure often brings to the surface. But failure, in its rawest form, is one of our greatest teachers. It has the power to reshape us, to make us stronger, to help us understand ourselves more deeply, and to bring us closer to the things that really matter. Learning to handle failure gracefully doesn't mean pretending it doesn't hurt. It means letting ourselves feel that disappointment, learning from it, and then using it as fuel to move forward. When we commit to making something happen, especially something meaningful, failure is almost inevitable at some point. There will be times when our plans don't pan out, when we misjudge a situation, or when something completely out of our control derails us. And in those moments, we might feel like all our effort was wasted, that maybe we aren't cut out for what we're trying to achieve. But those feelings, however painful, are part of the journey. In fact, facing failure and deciding to continue anyway is what builds resilience. It's what makes us stronger, sharper, and more attuned to what we really want. The truth is, failure is not a final destination, it's just a moment in time, a stepping stone on a much larger path. Handling failure gracefully starts with letting go of perfectionism. So many of us grew up believing that mistakes mean we aren't good enough, or that failure is something to be ashamed of. But perfectionism is just a mask for fear. It keeps us from taking risks, from stepping outside our comfort zones, and from growing. When we let go of the need to be perfect, we free ourselves to try, to experiment, and yes, to fail. In doing so, we open ourselves to the possibility of real growth. Learning to embrace imperfection means acknowledging that failure is not a reflection of our worth, it's simply part of the process. And when we see it that way, failure loses its power to define us or hold us back. Failure is also a tremendous source of insight. Each time we fail, there's something to learn, something to gain that we wouldn't have known otherwise. Maybe it's a skill we need to strengthen, a different approach we could take, or even a realization about what truly matters to us. Failure strips away the excess and reveals what's essential. It has a way of clarifying our purpose and helping us see what we're really working toward. When we handle failure gracefully, we're willing to look for these lessons. Instead of turning away in shame or frustration, we approach failure with curiosity, asking ourselves what we can learn and how we can grow. In this way, failure becomes less about loss and more about discovery. Another important part of handling failure is self-compassion. So often when we fail, our first instinct is to criticize ourselves, to judge ourselves harshly for not being good enough, but this self-criticism only deepens the wound and makes it harder to move forward. Instead, what we really need in those moments is kindness toward ourselves. Self-compassion is about acknowledging that failure is hard and that we're doing the best we can. It's about treating ourselves with the same empathy and understanding we would offer to a friend who is struggling. When we approach failure with self-compassion, we create a space where it's okay to feel disappointed, where it's okay to grieve the setback, and where it's okay to gather our strength to try again. Gracefully handling failure also involves the courage to stay vulnerable. When we fail, it's natural to want to hide, to retreat, and to keep our struggles to ourselves. But vulnerability is what connects us to others. When we're open about our failures, we give others permission to do the same. We remind each other that failure is a universal experience, that it's okay to struggle, and that it doesn't make us any less capable or worthy. Sharing our failures, especially with people we trust, can be a powerful act of courage. It allows us to process our experiences in a safe space, to receive support, and to remember that we're not alone on this journey. Vulnerability transforms failure from a source of isolation into an opportunity for connection. Perhaps most importantly, handling failure gracefully means choosing to keep going. Failure can be discouraging, and it can make us question whether our goals are truly worth pursuing. But grace in the face of failure means recognizing that setbacks are just a part of the process, not the end of the story. It's about holding on to our vision, even when the path is hard, and choosing to take one more step, and then another, even if the way forward isn't clear. This commitment to moving forward, to continuing despite the challenges, is what makes dreams a reality. It's what transforms ideas into accomplishments and intentions into legacies. Failure is not something to fear or avoid, it's something to embrace. When we can look at failure and see it as a teacher, a guide, and a necessary part of the journey, we reclaim our power. We realize that we are not defined by our setbacks, but by how we respond to them. Handling failure gracefully is an act of resilience, an affirmation of our own strength, and a commitment to our dreams. It reminds us that every setback we encounter is simply one step closer to becoming the person we're meant to be. Trusting yourself is one of the most profound acts of courage. In a world where we're constantly inundated with external opinions, societal expectations, and well-meaning advice from others, learning to trust our own inner voice can feel both liberating and daunting. Trusting yourself isn't about shutting out the world or ignoring what others have to offer. Rather, it's about recognizing that deep down you possess a wisdom that's uniquely yours. This self-trust isn't always easy to cultivate, especially when life throws challenges our way or when self-doubt creeps in. But trusting yourself is essential to making things happen. It's the foundation that allows us to stand firm, to take risks, and to move forward, even when the path is uncertain. To trust yourself, you first have to let go of the fear of not being enough. So often, we're held back by a nagging feeling that we're not smart enough, capable enough, or experienced enough to take on a challenge. But trusting yourself means quieting that inner critic and embracing the fact that you have what it takes. It's about acknowledging that while you may not have all the answers, you are equipped to find them as you go. Self-trust doesn't require perfection or complete certainty. It's rooted in a willingness to believe in your ability to navigate whatever comes your way. This belief in yourself becomes your compass, guiding you when the way forward isn't clear and giving you the confidence to take action, even when doubts arise. One of the most significant aspects of self-trust is learning to listen to your intuition. Intuition is that quiet inner voice that doesn't always follow logic, and it often goes unnoticed in a world that values rational thinking and external validation. But intuition is an incredible source of wisdom, and it's often what guides us to make choices that align with our true selves. Trusting yourself means creating space to listen to that voice even when it doesn't make sense to others, and even when it requires you to go against the grain. Intuition is the part of you that senses what's right, even if you can't explain it. By listening to it, you're honoring a deeper part of yourself, one that knows what you need and what aligns with your values. Trusting yourself also means giving yourself permission to make mistakes. So many of us are afraid to take risks or make decisions because we fear the possibility of getting it wrong. But self-trust is about recognizing that mistakes are part of the process. They don't diminish your worth or define your capabilities. When you trust yourself, you allow yourself to try, to learn, and to grow, even if it means stumbling along the way. This doesn't mean you'll always make the right choice, but it means that you're willing to move forward, knowing that you can handle the outcome, whatever it may be. Trusting yourself is about releasing the need for perfection and instead embracing a mindset of growth and resilience. Another key component of self-trust is owning your own perspective. In a world where opinions are readily available and advice is often unsolicited, it can be easy to lose sight of your own voice. Trusting yourself means valuing your perspective as much as, if not more than, the perspectives of others. It's about acknowledging that you have a unique way of seeing the world shaped by your experiences, values, and beliefs. This doesn't mean that you ignore the insights of others, but it does mean that you allow your own voice to be the final authority on your life. When you trust yourself, you stop looking outward for validation and start looking inward for direction. Self-trust also involves patience. Trusting yourself isn't a decision you make once, it's a commitment you renew over time. There will be days when doubt creeps in, when you question your decisions, or when you feel uncertain. On these days, trusting yourself means choosing to be patient with yourself, to give yourself grace, and to recognize that self-trust is a journey. It's a gradual process of learning to tune out the noise, to stand firm in your own convictions, and to believe in your own potential. Patience allows you to continue building that trust even when it feels shaky, and to understand that self-trust deepens with experience and reflection. Trusting yourself also creates space for authenticity. When you trust yourself, you stop feeling the need to conform to others' expectations or to fit into a mold that doesn't resonate with you. Self-trust gives you the freedom to be yourself, to pursue what matters to you, and to make choices that feel true to who you are. It's about aligning your actions with your values, regardless of what others might think. Authenticity is a natural outcome of self-trust, and it's incredibly liberating. It allows you to show up in the world as your whole self, without fear of judgment or rejection, because you know that you're grounded in your own truth. Trusting yourself also requires courage. Self-trust is tested in moments of challenge. When you're faced with decisions that require you to take a leap of faith, to go against the status quo, or to step into the unknown. In these moments, self-trust is about choosing to believe in yourself even when the path ahead is uncertain. It's about saying, I may not have all the answers, but I trust that I can figure it out. This courage is what allows you to keep moving forward, to take risks, and to pursue goals that others might not understand. It's a quiet, steady confidence that says, I've got this even when doubts arise. Trusting yourself is about embracing your own worthiness. It's about recognizing that you are capable, that you have a unique perspective, and that you are deserving of pursuing the things that matter to you. Self-trust is an affirmation of your own value, independent of anyone else's opinion or approval. When you trust yourself, you're able to take action from a place of confidence rather than fear, to pursue your dreams without needing external validation, and to stand firm in the face of challenges. This trust in yourself becomes your anchor, your source of strength, and your guide on the journey to making things happen. Trusting yourself is an ongoing practice. It's a daily choice to honor your own voice, to embrace your worth, and to believe in your ability to navigate life's complexities. And as you continue to trust yourself, you'll find that you're capable of achieving far more than you ever imagined. Self-trust doesn't eliminate challenges or guarantee success, but it empowers you to face whatever comes your way with courage, resilience, and a deep sense of self-assuredness. It's the foundation that allows you to make things happen, to live authentically, and to pursue a life that's truly your own. Surrounding yourself with supportive people is a powerful act of self-care. It's a conscious choice to fill your life with people who lift you up, who see the best in you, and who encourage you to reach for your dreams. The truth is, none of us can do it alone. Life's journey is filled with moments that challenge us, that test our resolve, and that can leave us questioning ourselves. In those moments, the people around us can make all the difference. A strong support system can be the safety net that catches us when we stumble, the cheerleaders who celebrate our victories, and the quiet voices of wisdom and encouragement that remind us of our strength when we feel uncertain. But building this kind of support system requires intention and discernment. It's not just about the number of people in our lives, but about the quality of those relationships. One of the first steps in surrounding yourself with supportive people is understanding what real support looks like. True support isn't just about having people who agree with you or who only show up when things are easy. Real support means having people in your life who are genuinely invested in your well-being, who are willing to tell you the truth, even when it's hard, and who believe in your potential without trying to control or dictate your path. Supportive people are those who celebrate your successes without jealousy, who stand by you in moments of failure, and who see your worth even when you struggle to see it yourself. They don't try to mold you into their version of successful. Instead, they encourage you to become the truest version of yourself. Creating a supportive circle also means letting go of relationships that drain you or undermine your confidence. Not everyone who enters our lives is meant to stay, and that's okay. Sometimes we hold on to relationships out of habit, obligation, or fear of being alone. But if a relationship is filled with criticism, negativity, or constant competition, it may be time to reassess. The people we allow into our lives have a profound impact on our mental and emotional health. When we keep people around who make us doubt ourselves or who bring more stress than joy, we're denying ourselves the space to cultivate meaningful, positive connections. Choosing to let go of toxic relationships isn't selfish, it's an act of self-preservation and respect for your own well-being. Supportive people are those who accept you as you are but also encourage you to grow. They understand that growth is a personal journey, and they respect your process without imposing their own expectations. These are the friends who don't judge you for your mistakes, but who also don't let you stay stagnant. They believe in your potential and are willing to challenge you in a way that feels empowering rather than shaming. When you surround yourself with people who truly believe in you, you're more likely to believe in yourself. Their confidence in your abilities can become a mirror, reflecting back the strengths and possibilities that you may not yet see. Another important aspect of creating a supportive environment is reciprocity. Relationships thrive when there is a balance of give and take. Supporting others is just as vital as receiving support. When you invest in others' dreams, when you're there to encourage them through their struggles, and when you celebrate their successes, you create a foundation of trust and mutual respect. Supportive relationships are not one-sided, they are built on a foundation of shared compassion and empathy. When we give support freely, without expectation, we strengthen our connections and create a network of genuine relationships. This reciprocity fosters a sense of community, where everyone is committed to each other's growth and well-being. One of the beautiful things about surrounding yourself with supportive people is that it allows you to be vulnerable. Supportive people create safe spaces where you can be honest about your fears, insecurities, and setbacks. In a world that often demands perfection, having people who allow you to show up as you are, flaws and all is incredibly liberating. Vulnerability is essential to growth because it allows us to face our fears and embrace our humanity. When we're surrounded by supportive people, we feel safer to take risks, to dream bigger, and to pursue our goals wholeheartedly, knowing that we have a safety net of people who will catch us if we fall. This kind of openness deepens relationships and fosters an environment where authenticity can thrive. Having a supportive network also strengthens resilience. Life will inevitably throw challenges our way, and having people who remind us of our strength and who encourage us to keep going can be a source of immense courage. When you're surrounded by people who believe in you, you start to internalize that belief. They become a source of strength during times when your own faith might falter. Supportive relationships act as a buffer against life's difficulties, helping us to face adversity with a sense of hope and confidence. They remind us that we're not alone and that, no matter how tough things get, there are people who have our backs. To attract supportive people, it's essential to be the kind of person who offers support as well. Show up for others in the way you want them to show up for you. Be kind, be honest, and be willing to invest in others' well-being without an agenda. Supportive relationships grow from a place of mutual respect and shared values. When you embody these qualities, you naturally attract people who align with that energy. Remember, building a support system is not about amassing connections, it's about nurturing meaningful relationships that add depth, joy, and resilience to your life. Surrounding yourself with supportive people is a choice to prioritize your own well-being. It's about choosing to create a life filled with people who uplift you, who respect your journey, and who encourage you to be the best version of yourself. Supportive people don't just make the journey easier, they make it richer, more fulfilling, and more joyful. They remind us of our strength, they help us to see our potential, and they celebrate our progress every step of the way. Surrounding yourself with support is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself as you pursue your dreams. It's an affirmation that you deserve to be surrounded by love, encouragement, and belief in who you are. Learning to celebrate small wins is an essential practice that can transform the way we approach our goals and our lives. In a culture that often prioritizes big achievements and grand gestures, it's easy to overlook the incremental progress that leads us to our dreams. Celebrating small wins is about recognizing and honoring the steps we take along the journey, no matter how seemingly insignificant they may appear. Each small win is a testament to our effort, resilience, and commitment to ourselves. By cultivating this practice, we not only enhance our motivation, but also foster a sense of joy and gratitude that can sustain us through challenges. When we think about celebrating wins, we often envision milestones, graduations, promotions, or completing a major project. While those moments are certainly worthy of celebration, it's the small wins that often pave the way to those larger achievements. Small wins are the little victories that happen daily, completing a task on your to-do list, making time for self-care, or even just showing up for yourself when things get tough. Each of these moments contributes to a larger narrative of progress, yet they often go unnoticed. By intentionally celebrating these small moments, we create a framework that encourages growth and resilience, allowing us to see the progress we're making even when the end goal seems distant. Celebrating small wins requires a shift in perspective. It's about moving away from a mindset that focuses solely on outcomes and instead embracing a process-oriented approach. When we recognize that progress is not always linear, we begin to appreciate the journey itself. Each small win becomes a marker of our dedication, a reminder that we are capable of taking steps forward, even when we may not feel like it. This shift in mindset fosters a sense of compassion for ourselves and our efforts. It acknowledges that while we may not have achieved our ultimate goal yet, we are still making strides toward it. This awareness helps to build resilience, making it easier to navigate setbacks and challenges along the way. One of the most profound benefits of celebrating small wins is the boost it provides to our motivation. When we take the time to acknowledge our progress, we reinforce our commitment to our goals. Each celebration acts as a motivational spark that encourages us to keep moving forward. It's easy to lose sight of our objectives when we become consumed by the challenges we face. However, when we pause to celebrate even the smallest achievements, we are reminded of our capabilities and our potential. This reinforcement helps us to stay engaged and invested in our journey, making it more likely that we will continue to pursue our goals with enthusiasm. The act of celebration itself can take many forms. It doesn't have to be a grand event or a lavish party. Sometimes it can be as simple as taking a moment to reflect on what you've accomplished and acknowledging it. This could be treating yourself to your favorite coffee, sharing your win with a friend, or simply writing down your accomplishments in a journal. The key is to make the celebration meaningful to you. Finding ways to honor your small wins in a way that resonates personally can create a powerful connection to your achievements. It's not just about acknowledging what you've done, it's about recognizing your effort and commitment to yourself. Another important aspect of celebrating small wins is the way it fosters gratitude. When we take the time to recognize our progress, we cultivate a deeper appreciation for the journey we're on. Gratitude helps to shift our focus from what we lack or what's still undone to what we have accomplished. This shift in focus can create a more positive and resilient mindset, allowing us to approach our goals with a greater sense of optimism. By celebrating small wins, we remind ourselves of the resources, strengths, and support we have available to us. This gratitude not only enhances our emotional well-being, but also serves as a powerful motivator to continue striving for our goals. In a world that often emphasizes productivity and achievement, it's vital to remember that celebrating small wins is not a sign of complacency. Rather, it's an acknowledgement of the hard work and effort we put into our lives. It's about honoring the process and recognizing that every step, no matter how small, contributes to the bigger picture. By valuing our small wins, we create a culture of appreciation for our efforts and a more compassionate relationship with ourselves. We begin to understand that progress is not defined by the speed at which we move forward, but by our willingness to engage with our goals, to show up for ourselves, and to take those incremental steps. As we cultivate this practice of celebrating small wins, it's essential to share this mindset with others. When we celebrate our achievements, we invite others to do the same. By sharing our small wins with friends, family, or colleagues, we create an environment that encourages collective celebration. This communal recognition can be incredibly uplifting, as it fosters connection and support among those around us. It reminds us that we're not alone in our journeys and that we can uplift and inspire one another as we navigate the ups and downs of life. Sharing our wins, no matter how small, can help to create a culture of positivity and encouragement, where everyone feels empowered to acknowledge their efforts. In closing, learning to celebrate small wins is a transformative practice that can enrich our lives in countless ways. It shifts our focus from the end goals to the journey itself, fosters motivation, and cultivates gratitude. By creating an environment of support and recognition, we empower ourselves and others to embrace the process of growth and change. Every small win is a testament to our strength, resilience, and commitment to ourselves. As we continue to honor our progress, we not only enhance our own well-being, but also inspire those around us to do the same. In this way, we create a ripple effect of positivity and empowerment, reinforcing the belief that every step we take is significant and worthy of celebration. Setting boundaries is a vital act of self-care that enables us to honor our needs, values, and priorities. In a world that often encourages us to say yes to everything, establishing clear boundaries becomes an essential practice for maintaining our well-being. Boundaries are not just about protecting ourselves from negativity or unwanted influence, they are about creating a space where we can thrive, engage authentically, and cultivate the kind of relationships that nourish our spirits. When we set boundaries, we communicate our limits to others and ourselves, making it clear what we are willing to accept and what we need to thrive. This practice requires courage, self-awareness, and a commitment to our own worthiness. The process of setting boundaries often begins with understanding our own needs and recognizing the areas where we feel overextended or uncomfortable. It involves reflecting on what feels right for us and what doesn't, identifying the situations or relationships that drain our energy, and determining how we can create more balance in our lives. This self-reflection is crucial because it allows us to articulate our boundaries more effectively. When we are clear about what we need, we can communicate those needs confidently to others. This clarity helps to eliminate confusion and ensures that we are advocating for ourselves in a way that feels authentic and empowering. One of the common misconceptions about setting boundaries is that it's selfish or unkind. In reality, boundaries are an essential expression of self-respect and compassion, both for ourselves and for others. When we establish boundaries, we're not only taking care of our own needs, we're also creating a healthier environment for those around us. Clear boundaries help to prevent resentment and frustration, allowing us to engage in our relationships from a place of authenticity and respect. It's important to understand that setting boundaries is not about pushing people away, rather, it's about creating a space for healthy, meaningful connections. When we establish limits, we foster an environment where everyone feels safe and valued, which ultimately strengthens our relationships. In practice, setting boundaries involves clear communication. It's about expressing our needs openly and honestly, rather than expecting others to read our minds or anticipate our feelings. This can feel uncomfortable at first, especially if we're used to putting others' needs before our own. However, effective communication is the key to successful boundary setting. It's essential to articulate our boundaries with kindness and clarity. We can use I statements to express how we feel and what we need, which helps to keep the focus on our experience rather than placing blame or making demands. For example, instead of saying, "You always interrupt me," we might say, "I feel overlooked when I'm not given the chance to finish my thoughts." This approach fosters understanding and invites dialogue, making it easier for others to respect our boundaries. Another important aspect of setting boundaries is being prepared for pushback. Not everyone will respond positively to our efforts to establish limits, especially if they are used to a different dynamic. It's natural for some people to resist change, particularly if they have benefited from our lack of boundaries in the past. However, it's crucial to remember that we are not responsible for how others react to our boundaries. Setting limits is about taking care of ourselves and honoring our needs, regardless of how others respond. In those moments of resistance, it's essential to stay grounded in our intentions and remind ourselves that we deserve to prioritize our well-being. Setting boundaries can also be an evolving process. Our needs and circumstances change over time, and as we grow, so too may our boundaries. It's essential to be flexible and willing to reassess our limits as we navigate different phases of our lives. This adaptability allows us to create boundaries that are responsive to our current situation and reflect our evolving understanding of ourselves. Regularly checking in with ourselves can help us to stay attuned to our needs, making it easier to adjust our boundaries as necessary. This process of reevaluation can also be an opportunity for growth, as it invites us to explore our values and priorities more deeply. While setting boundaries is empowering, it can also bring up feelings of guilt or anxiety. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that we should always prioritize others' needs over our own, leading to a fear of disappointing those around us. However, it's important to challenge this belief and recognize that setting boundaries is not only necessary but also a fundamental aspect of healthy relationships. Guilt often arises when we fear that we may let someone down, but it's crucial to remember that we can't be everything to everyone. By setting boundaries, we create space for ourselves to show up fully in our lives, and in turn, we can be more present and supportive in our relationships. When we prioritize our own needs, we are better equipped to be there for others without feeling depleted. In relationships, boundaries can serve as a powerful tool for fostering mutual respect. When both parties communicate their needs and establish boundaries, it creates a framework for understanding and collaboration. It allows for honest dialogue about what is acceptable and what isn't, leading to healthier interactions. This practice encourages us to listen actively to one another and to honor each other's limits, reinforcing a culture of respect and empathy. Relationships thrive on healthy boundaries, as they create a sense of safety and trust. When both individuals feel comfortable expressing their needs, it fosters a deeper connection built on mutual understanding and appreciation. It's also worth noting that setting boundaries isn't just about saying no. While it's essential to communicate our limits, boundaries can also involve saying yes to what truly matters to us. It's about prioritizing the commitments and relationships that align with our values and contribute to our sense of fulfillment. This affirmative aspect of boundary setting empowers us to focus on what brings us joy and purpose, allowing us to invest our energy in pursuits that resonate with our authentic selves. By choosing to say yes to the things that uplift us, we create a life that reflects our true values and passions. Setting boundaries is an act of courage. It requires us to confront discomfort, challenge societal norms, and advocate for ourselves in a world that often encourages self-sacrifice. However, it is through this courage that we reclaim our power and create lives that align with our true selves. By establishing clear limits, we honor our needs and values, fostering an environment where we can thrive. Boundaries enable us to cultivate healthy relationships, enhance our emotional well-being, and engage authentically with ourselves and others. As we embrace the practice of setting boundaries, we not only empower ourselves but also model healthy behavior for those around us, creating a ripple effect that encourages others to honor their own needs. In this way, we contribute to a culture of compassion, respect, and authenticity, where everyone is encouraged to show up fully and embrace their worth. In conclusion, the journey toward making it happen is not merely about the end goal, but encompasses every step we take along the way. It is a commitment to ourselves, a promise to honor our dreams, values, and worthiness. By embracing vulnerability, we open ourselves to the richness of our experiences, allowing us to learn and grow through both our triumphs and setbacks. Each challenge we face becomes an opportunity for growth, reminding us that we are capable of rising above adversity. As we celebrate our small wins, we cultivate a deeper sense of gratitude and motivation that fuels our progress. Recognizing the importance of these incremental victories fosters a mindset that values the journey as much as the destination. By setting boundaries, we protect our energy and prioritize our well-being, allowing us to engage authentically with ourselves and others. This practice of honoring our needs creates a healthier environment where we can thrive, fostering relationships rooted in mutual respect and understanding. Making it happen is a deeply personal and transformative process. It requires courage, resilience, and a commitment to our own growth. As we navigate this journey, let us remember that we are not alone. We are part of a larger community of individuals striving to embrace their authentic selves. By sharing our stories and supporting one another, we create a culture of empowerment that uplifts us all. Each of us has the ability to make it happen, not just for ourselves, but for those around us as well. Together, let us embrace our journeys, celebrate our wins, and commit to the beautiful possibility that lies ahead.